And we are live. Fairway to Heaven. Wells Fargo Championship week down there at Quail Hollow. Let me turn my mic up here a little bit so I can hear myself speaking here. What is up, everybody? I am Phil Stiefel, host of Fairway to Heaven, right here on the Philadelphia Sports Network. Make sure you watch. When you're watching this, you like, you subscribe, you share, you retweet, you follow, you turn notifications on. You do everything you got to do to spread the word about the best fantasy and gambling golf podcast there is on the market, again, on the Philadelphia Sports Network. If you want to get interactive with the show, if you got questions, thoughts, concerns, head over to the Philadelphia Sports Network YouTube page. It's the best place to drop your questions, your comments, as we try to get back in the win column, because, yes, I am on a cold spell right now. I am not going to lie. I've dug deep into my head to try to figure out what I've been doing wrong the last few weeks. And last month and a half, 2 months. I haven't had a win, an outright win since the Farmers back in January. I haven't had a major profitable week in like 6 weeks. It's time to get back into it. With the big purse at the Wells Fargo, another elevated event, it's time for me to figure out how to get that big money. What is going on? I hope you guys don't hear that feedback. I'm hearing feedback, but all right, I think I fixed it there. Anyway, Wells Fargo week, Quail Hollow, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's Flair Country, Charlotte, North Carolina. Woo. Can I get a woo? Flair Country, Charlotte, North Carolina. Another one of the elevated events. And before we get into the event itself, and before we get into the new strategy that I'm trying to figure out, I'm all tangled up. I rushed to start today. Late night at work, just got home, trying to figure everything out, and here we are. Anyway, before we get into the event, before we get into my new strategies, we do just got to think about another elevated event. And, Rory's here this week. He withdrew from the last elevated event. And you got to start thinking about, oh, that's right, my man, Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, the grind never stops. The morning show's my passion. The golf talk's my hobby. This is where it all got started, though. Talk golf, for those that don't know, the golf podcast started because when COVID hit, about a month before COVID hit, I signed up to work for a website, not Philadelphia Sports Network, another now defunct website. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write sports for fun as a hobby on the side. Then COVID hit like 3 weeks later, and all the sports world shut down. I'm like, what am I going to write about? So I'm writing about this and that. And then golf was the first sport that started up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be the person that writes about golf. And then the November Masters happened in 2020, and I started doing this podcast, and I just love it. It's fun. And I've actually had a lot of success at picking golf winners, just not lately. But to the elevated event part of this thing, there's got to be a level of fatigue setting into these golfers that they're playing all these events they're not used to playing. The top name golfers, they used to sponsor me on a previous network, a smaller network. They are no longer a sponsor of mine, but it's still a free T-shirt, so I still wear it. And as you can see, I don't manscape very well, but it's there. And it was a clean shirt in the laundry pile, so I put it on. Not just the fatigue of playing every single week, but you also got to think about the top guys, the Rorys of the world, McIlroys of the world, the Rahms, the Schefflers, all the extra media appearances they're doing, all the extra, side work that they're doing to help promote the game of golf now. And it's got to be taking a toll on him. And you hear Rory talk this week, and he's exhausted. You can hear it. He took like 2 weeks off there, 3 weeks off, and he still doesn't seem right. So you definitely got to think about that a little bit. MVP, he is behind the Roy Halladay jersey. I will rearrange that a little bit. So he's out in front for tomorrow morning, Kyle, for sure. Yes, Joel Embiid, MVP. Cash that ticket, because I hit that. That's my second in 2 years MVP tickets hitting, because I had Bryce Harper hitting his MVP in 2021, and now Embiid in 2023. I don't just pick golf winners. I pick MVPs as well. Hopefully Nick Castellanos is my Phillies MVP this year. Anyway, so what is Quail Hollow? Let's get into it this week. Quail Hollow, Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Flair Country. It's another one of those Bombers delights. You got to be able to hit the golf ball far and long and accurately here at Quail Hollow. Quail Hollow has a long storied history, not just for the Wells Fargo Championship the last few years. President's Cup last year. It's hosted the PGA Championship in 2017, which was won by Justin Thomas. So the elite golfers know this course well. It's an extremely difficult course. You got to be long and great off the tee. You got to have an elite and polished tee to green game. You got to be able to find fairways. Um, there's a lot of things. Your scrambling game. There was a quote by Victor Hovland today or yesterday when he was talking. You basically got to try to hold on for dear life in this course. Maybe find a few birdies on par fives, but you got to try to hit the greens and have two putts. You've got to avoid the bogeys. You've got to avoid the three putts. It's not because the greens are hard. It's just are hard to putt on. It's just hard to hit them and keep the ball on there. So you want to find the fairways. You want to hit the greens. You want to have an elite scrambling game. You want to be someone. Thank you, Adam. I try my best. Today's a rough one. I'm going to move. I was going to move this to Monday nights a little bit earlier in the evening because I typically have Monday nights off. But the Sixers game was last night. So after the NBA playoffs, we'll have a set schedule on Mondays a little earlier. I literally closed up the shop at 9:30, walked in the door at 9:50, turned on my microphone, and here I am. Do a morning show, a 12-hour day at the pizza shop, and then another show, followed up by this Phillies game tonight. Spieth, Thomas, Cantley, and Xander all play this course well. Justin Thomas for sure. He is one of my outright bets this week, Kyle. Jordan Spieth, also one of my outright bets. Patrick Cantley, I think I'm going to get back behind him come PGA Championship. Not sure if you saw this. He's got a new caddy on the bag this week. Tiger's caddy is, stepping away from Tiger because Tiger barely plays and picking up the bag for Cantley this week. We don't know if it's going to be a long-term thing or a short-term thing, but they're going to try that out. Two things I always try to stay away from. It's new caddies when I hear about that and new clubs that they're breaking in. When I hear those two things, I kind of get a little scared on a betting market. I'm a Patrick Cantley fan. I know he gets a lot of crap for his slow play. But outside of that, I think he's a guy, and I've said this before on the show, he's number 4 in the world behind Rory, Rahm, and Scheffler, and he should be in that same class. It's John Rahm, it's Scotty Scheffler, it's Rory and Cantley. They're all right there together. I just don't like it when I hear new caddy 2 days before a tournament at a super tough course happens. So anyway, the stats I'm looking at this week, and we'll get into my model in a second. Obviously, off the tee, driving distance, tee to green, very important. The approach game, very important, especially from that 175 to 200 bucket. Very, very important. The par 4 scoring on long par 4s is very important, 450 plus. 8 of the par 4s are over 450 yards this week. I'll be on the 15th tee at the Patriots Outpost on Sunday. Well, let me tell you something. I wish I would have known sooner. I would have sent you a Fairway to Heaven t-shirt, Kyle, which you can get at my merch store, which is linked in my bio and in the bio of this show on Twitter or in this YouTube page here. I would have gotten you one. Now I'm going to look for you. You got to tell. You'll send me a pic before Sunday. Let me know what you're wearing. I'll look out for you on TV because I'll be watching. Par 4s, long scoring on par 4s, very important. Bogey avoidance and 3-putt avoidance. This is the average winning score is in that 10, 12, 13 range. 12 under is what I'm gunning for. And when 12 under is the winning score, that means it's no birdie fest. So you need guys that aren't going to make, you need birdie makers to an extent, but you need guys that don't make bogey. Because like Victor Hovland said, you got to hold on for dear life and make a few birdies on the par 5s. That's key. And that 175 bucket, not only for your second shot on a longer, tougher course, but 3 of the par 3s are over 175 yards as well. So that proximity 175 counts on the approach game, but also the par 3 scoring. So they're all the things I'm looking for this week. And we're going to get into my strategy in a second, but I want to pull up my custom model here from fantasynational.com. They're a partner with the show there. I love Fantasy National. You punch in what you want to weigh each week. They spit out a model on how to rank the golfers. As you can see this week, out of 100%, 20% of my model is tee to green this week. 20% is on approach. And then I kind of coupled. I wasn't sure whether to do driving distance off the tee. I went 25% combined. 13 on driving distance, 12 on off the tee. Because if you miss the fairways just a little bit, you can still get there and you can still get home. Then, of course, I got 10% around the green, 10% on bogey avoidance, and then I got the 5% on that 175 proximity, 5% on 450 to 500 par 4s, and it spits out the model. Not naturally speaking, Rory McIlroy is number 1, Tony Finau number 2, Patrick Cantley number 3. The best golfers in the world are at the top. Wyndham Clark burned me a little bit last week, did not contend is up there. Number 4, Jason Day. Number 5, Xander. 6, Max Homa, who I love this week. Number 7. We've already mentioned Justin Thomas. I've got an outright bet on him, and he's in a lot of my lineups this week at number 8. Colin Morikawa and Sung J M at 10. Jordan Spieth rounds it out at 11. But that's more because of his proximity, and his par 4 scoring is not that great. But we got to, like I always say, read these models with a little bit of grain of salt. Now, we're going to minimize the model for a second because I have been on a downward trek lately. And I've been trying to figure out a way to break out of my slump. And we got to think, especially with these elevated events and the non-elevated events too, if you look at it, the big name golfers are winning most of these events. The long shots are not winning. Okay. The 50 to 1s, the 100, when I hit 75 to 1 Luke List 2 years ago, that's not happening anymore. When the farmers, the elite golfers are winning. Okay. So maybe we're taking too much risk on these long shots in building our lineups and on betting on a weekly basis. You've got to pick long shots in your lineups, but maybe not as deep. You don't need 7 clicks of Aaron Rai this week. You don't need it because he's not going to compete and win against these big names. So like Patrick Rogers or Benny On or Justin Sue. I know you love Justin Sue, Kyle. But those kind of guys in this elite field, the chances, I'm not saying they can't win, but the chances of them winning are slim. Their win equity, their win upside, it's not huge. And I think far often this year, I've spent too much time putting too much emphasis on those bottom guys. So what my new strategy is, starting this week, and I've done this, I've got 5 outrights, but I've got 4 core plays. And what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to find the 4 most elite golfers that I think have the best chance of winning a golf tournament for my fantasy lineups. And I'm going to say, first off, I'm not betting any more outrights to win that are long shots. This week, my longest outright is Sam Burns at 30 to 1. And what I'm going to do is, I've got 5 outrights this week. I got Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland, Max Homa. I got 2 outrights on Max Homa because I bet him at 20 to 1, and then I saw his number drop, and there was a boost on DraftKings. So I've got a 20 to 1 bet on him and a 31 to 1 bet on Max Homa this week. I got Justin Thomas and Sam Burns. All elite golfers, all guys that have won before, major winners, major contenders, week in and week out. They're my bets. So I looked at those 5 names. I'm like, I got to pick 4, and I'm going to make them my 4 core. Okay? And what I'm doing, so I'm classifying my 4 core every week now. And what I'm going to make sure I do is I do 21 lineups. I do a 20 max entry, and then I do a single entry. Okay? I am going to make sure that at least 2 of my core 4 are in every single lineup. I'm going to try to get 3 of my core in every single lineup. And I even found a way to get all 4 of my core in one lineup this week. So that's the thing. I'm going to find a core. So I've got my 4 cores, 21 lineups. They're all used 13 times this week. And my core, well, first, Kyle, you're going to be at the Wyndham Championship August 4th. I will get you a Fair Way to Heaven shirt by August 4th. You'll send me your address, and I'll get you one. And I expect you to be wearing that and on TV, flapping those arms for Fair Way to Heaven. Absolutely. I wish I still made the 5th place phenom. He's a 5-time winner phenom now, not 5th place phenom. But those shirts were great, but I don't have that logo anymore. But anyway, so my new strategy: find my core 4, and make sure at a minimum 2, if not 3, are in every single lineup I make. And I did that this week. Like I said, I got a core 4 in 13 lineups. So that means 2 of these 4 are in 13 lineups. Again, I found a way to get all 4. So out of my 5 outrights, 4 of them are in my core. Jordan Spieth is in my core this week. 9,600 on DraftKings. 20 to 1 was his initial bet. I think that number went up to 18 to 1. Max Homa, who I've got 2 outrights on now, like I said, is in my core. He's 9,400 on DraftKings. Victor Hovland, 9,200. I know is around the green game. Everybody's scared of it, but if you really are paying close attention and watching Victor Hovland play, his around the green game has gotten much better. And we're going to go through the stats in a second. So Victor Hovland is in my core. And then I skip JT, even though I have an outright bet. And I do have him in the most lineups outside of the core. He's in 7 of 21 lineups, Justin Thomas, but he's just outside my core. I went Sam Burns at 8,600, also in my core. So Spieth, Homa, Hovland, Burns. At least two, if not three of them, are in every single lineup I made this week. And you asked me, how'd I put all four in one, and I had to go to Ryan Gerard and Eric Cole. We'll get to them in the 6K range later on. But I was able to get those two guys mixed with the four core. If those four guys, if all of them make the cut, I'm turning a profit this week. And that's where, we always talk about ownership percentage and stuff like that in fantasy golf. And a lot of those guys are Sam Burns is on the lower end of the projection, window on ownership, but Hovland, Homa, Spieth, they're all going to be highly owned. It's about how you get creative at the bottom of the lineup with the other guys that you're piecing together. And if you look at it, yeah, I've got 7 JT lineups and 6 Sung J M lineup clicks, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 17 names clicked only once, twice, or 3 times. So I'm getting very flexible with the bottom end guys, a select amount of them, not a lot of them, but a select amount. But I went really heavy on 4 guys, and we're going to see if this works. We're not if just say Max Homa misses the cut or Jordan Spieth misses the cut this week. It could totally throw it off. But I'm going to give it at least 3 or 4 weeks through the PGA, maybe up to the U.S. Open, of sticking to this strategy. And I really think this is a sound strategy because it's keeping me focused on which 4 guys do I think have the best chance to win at the top of the board, and just pounding that number and pounding those names and pounding those prices on DraftKings, and then just getting flexible with the rest of the board. So let's zoom back in here on my model, okay, and some of these things. Yes, we're going to resort by salary based off of what I said. Yeah, I'm fading the entire 10K. You can make a case to play Rory. I'm still buying into the Rory is tired thing. I really am. Patrick Cantley, I'm fading because he's got a new caddy, new person on the bag. Might be a backfire for me, but I'm still doing it. Tony Finau, I try to stay away from last week's winner when I'm doing my lineups and my bets. So Tony Finau's a fade. Xander, you can make a case for sure. I just chose, based off of this philosophy, to fade him. You see stars next to names. They're just names. I put stars next to names on this list as soon as the numbers come out to start my research. Who the guys I want to zone in and decide. It's not necessarily who I'm playing. It's the guys I'm deciding between. So I stuck there. Colin Morikawa, I stayed away from. He's been hit or miss this year. Jordan Spieth, like I said, love Jordan Spieth and Max Homa. I mean, Max Homa, 7th in my model this week. Top 10 in so many of the specific categories I love this week. And I think you might get a slight discount on him to an extent ownership-wise. Because he missed his last cut at RBC Heritage. He didn't have a great finish at the Masters. But before that, he went 3rd, 1st, 39th, 2nd, 14th, 6th. So he won 4 out of 6 events, top 6, with a top 15 mixed in there too. Max Homa is one of the best golfers. He loves tougher courses, Max Homa. He loves tougher events, so I'm all about him. Victor Hovland, he's 115th around the greens in his last 36 rounds compared to his field. But if you push that out to 50, it's like 150 or 140th. So he has gotten better. And I want to zoom in on Victor Hovland because I think you might get some love. A lot of people are talking about him. But overall, he's been a terrible around the green player. But the RBC, where he finished 59th, he lost 1 stroke around the green. The Players only 0.7. The Arnold Palmer, he lost 3.8, but then Genesis 0.7, 0.1 at AT&T, 0.4 at the Century. He gained 3 strokes around the green at the CJ Cup. So you're starting to see a trend where there's only been 2 really bad around the green events in the last, I guess, dating back to middle last year, June of last year. He had a stretch where he was losing 2 to 6 strokes every single week. Since then, he's been able to clean it up. He's gotten a little bit better. So I'm okay with Victor Hovland for that reason. I think he's getting better. He's starting to figure it out. And he's going to go on a win streak really soon here on the PGA Tour. And this is a great week for him to do it. Sung J M, I do like Sung J M this week. He's a very consistent, type player. He doesn't hit the ball as far as the rest of the field, but he does everything else tee to green really well. So I do like Sung J M. I didn't bet him. He is in 6 of 13 lineups. So he's the second most used guy outside of my core 4. Jason Day is a great play, but I'm not falling into the Jason Day trap. Justin Thomas, I bet Justin Thomas. I clicked him the most out of my core. He won the PGA Championship at this course in 2017. Love him. Ricky Fowler actually probably might be higher owned than some of these guys ahead. People are in love with Ricky Fowler. He's played much better this year. But Ricky Fowler and Cam Young, both kind of in the same thing. Until I see them win again, I'm kind of staying away from them to an extent. I think too many people are just feel like they have to play Ricky Fowler because he's going to win at some point. You don't have to. Cam Young is going to win some point. You can stay away from him. I think he's the most tipped golfer on Golf Tip Checker. It's a site on Twitter. Um, he's I don't know. I can't get behind it. I'm not going to make him my most favorite golfer when he's never won. What is Max Homa's odds? Well, when I first got on DraftKings on Monday morning and saw the odds, Max Homa's 20-1, and I bet it right away. And then this afternoon, I went to double check to see how the odds have gone up and down, and he was at 28-1. So his odds have gotten worse because maybe too many people are betting him, or I don't know what the case is, and they were offering a plus 300 boost. So I made a bet at 20-1 on Max Homa, and I also made a 31-1 bet this afternoon to double it up. So I've got two outrights. So if Max Homa wins, let me tell you something. It's going to be a huge profitable week this week. And I love I have bet correctly. I've hit every Max Homa win for the last 2.5 years. And I think this is a week that he can hit another one. So I've gotten 3 of my 11 outrights over the last 2 years have been Max Homa wins. Let's make it another one this week. I also bet Max Homa top 20 as well, plus 105. So just better than even money. I even bet him to finish top 20. Going down this 8K range, I love Sam Burns this week. He doesn't model out great. And I don't know if he ever will. I don't know. But since his little stretch of back-to-back missed cuts, February, March at Genesis and Arnold Palmer, he's gone 35th, 6th, 29th, 15th. Plus, not in this model is his win at match play as well, because they don't have the shots gained, statistics for that event. So it doesn't count towards the model. Sam Burns is rediscovering what we saw of him last year. And the fact that he's all the way down here at 8,600 might, I would have thought, bumped up his ownership. But right now he's projected like 10% ownership. And I don't get it. Because he's a damn good golfer. And he's got a damn good chance at winning winning this event, for sure. So continuing down this list here. Some of these names, Sam Burns. So Tyrell Hutton, good golfer. He could play well here this week. Tom Kim. I'm kind of backing off the Tom Kim hype train. He kind of peaked, and he's kind of crashing. It's almost like his sophomore slump already hitting now. So I'm backing off the Tom Kim hype. Sahith Theegala, I like him this week. Did I play him? I played him 5 times this week. I had 21 lineups. Could do well. Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood's a big game player, big game golfer. I love Tommy Fleetwood when shot shape is important, when there's certain types of courses, and I know he doesn't drive the ball great, but his tee to green. Just listen to his tee to green stats on shots gained. So first off, he missed a cut at the Waste Management Open, still gained strokes tee to green. But since then, he's gone 20th, 61st, 27th, 3rd, 33rd, 15th. Strokes gained tee to green. We'll go back to October, actually, because it'll help my numbers. He's gained strokes in 7 straight events. The CJ Cup, 7.8. Waste Magic missed the cut, but still gained 0.3. 20th at the Genesis, 1.3 strokes gained. Arnold Palmer, 4.4 strokes gained. The Players, 5.2 strokes gained. The Valspar, 8.1 strokes gained. RBC, 5.7. He gains a ton of strokes tee to green. He's a great approach player. Hasn't lost strokes around the green since all the way back at the Byron Nelson last May. And before that, the Wyndham back in 2021. So he's only lost strokes around the green once since 2021 summer. So Tommy Fleetwood, way better golfer than he's given credit for. So I do like Tommy Fleetwood this week. Next down the list, Kuchar, great course history here. Does certain things well around the green. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Doesn't drive the ball well. Doesn't hit it a ton anymore. He's an old man. But you click him a couple times if you want. He was on my list, and then he ended up not getting clicked once just because of the way the money fell. Wyndham Clark, I'm back. He's modeling great. He's 4th in my model, which would typically mean a bet. But again, I'm not betting long shot. A deep field like this, Wyndham Clark will win an event this year, but it's not going to be an elevated event. And that's where we've got to adjust our strategy. These elevated events, the change in the toughness of these courses or these events, these fields, the difficulty of these fields, we're not taking that into account enough. So while Wyndham Clark got 4 clicks on DraftKings out of 13 lineups or 21 lineups, he's not getting bet by me. He will win an event. And he does. He's just like Tommy Fleetwood. Great tee to green player. Gets hit or miss off the tee. And last week, I say he killed me last week. He killed me because he finished in 24th place. He played terribly. Whether Thursday or Friday, he was just awful. Thursday, he was awful. Shot himself back to the cut line on Friday. Made a little bit of movement on Saturday. And then Sunday was just whatever. But he's a great tee to green player. He's just not going to win that first event when you've got this elite of a field. So that's why I'm just saving myself on him. Patrick Rogers was another one last week. Chris Kirk, back in the winning ways this week. These guys got a few clicks. I just want to touch on a few names down here. Steven Yeager got a few clicks for me. Benny On and Justin Sue both got a few clicks. Benny On, I want to look at his numbers real quick here. Has not missed a cut since the RSM Classic in November. That is 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight events, including a 6th place at Valero. Again, another great tee to green and around the green player. Sometimes gets a little spotty off the tee, but that tee to green play comes into play. Benny On at that price is a fantastic play. And same thing with Justin Sue. Justin Sue, I know, Kyle, you love Justin Sue. You love to bet Justin Sue. But let me tell you something. Since Justin Sue's hot run where he went 5th, 24th, 6th, then he went 45th after the Players at the Valspar, and he was losing strokes tee to green, off the tee, on approach, everywhere. He only made the cut at the Valspar because he gained almost 4 strokes putting. And then he followed that up with a 73rd at the RBC Heritage. How he made the cut at the RBC Heritage, I don't know. Seeing his numbers, he lost 11 and a half strokes total. Almost 15 strokes tee to green he lost, Justin Sue. So he peaked Justin Sue as a young player, but he may have peaked too soon, too quickly. I clicked for you, Justin, 3 times in Justin Sue's name. But there ain't no bet happening at Justin Sue this week. He's peaked. He needs to kind of settle down. Samuel Stevens is a guy that's getting a lot of love at 7K. Even though he missed the cut at the RBC Heritage, he did a 2nd at Valero and a 3rd at Punta Cana and a 15th at Puerto Rico, 13th at the Farmers. He's had a lot of really good events this year. A lot of them is because of his tee to green off the tee. He leaves a little bit to desire around the green. But, hell, he finished 2nd at Valero, losing 2.5 around the green. So he's getting a lot of love. I gave him a very, very tiny bit of love. Ben Griffin, Seo Kim, or however you say it. I love Seo Kim this week. He got 4 clicks. And somebody at that price getting 4 clicks with this new strategy is crazy. He missed the cut, the Players, back in March. But outside of that, he's missed 2 cuts this calendar year, the Amex and the Players. Outside of that, he's made a lot of cuts this year. Play a lot of golf. I made a lot of cuts. All he's got to do at his price and ownership is make a cut. Ben Griffin, he kind of peaked, kind of came back down, but he's starting to go back up a little bit again. So he's a guy. Aske, how do you say his name? Akshay Badia. Dude, that guy. I mean, we were watching golf on Sunday. Even my wife, who doesn't pay attention, perked up, was like, that is one skinny ass dude right there on my TV screen. I'm like, yeah. I did not know he was a North Carolina guy. He played great last week. One skinny and playing in those final groupings with Rahm and Finau. That gives a young kid a lot of confidence, a lot of experience. So this week, when he's around Rory or whoever else he gets paired with, that's really good for him. So I do like Badia. I don't know. You know me and butchering names. It's almost like a hobby of mine now. Down here in the 6K range, Joseph Rantlett is a good play this week. Will Gordon's a good play. Great driver of the golf ball, both of those guys. Aaron Rai, you're getting such a discount on Aaron Rai at 6,900. His ownership might even peak closer to 10%, but you just got to take it because 6,900 Aaron Rai is fantastic. Mark Hubbard is actually playing better golf than people realize. It's sporadic where he's gaining strokes every week, but he is. Mexican Open, 18th place, RBC Heritage, 11th place, 29th at Punta Cana, 35th Players, Sometimes he's doing a tee to green, sometimes on approach, sometimes around the green, sometimes with the putter. At that price, Mark Hubbard's worth a few clicks. Aaron Rai was the one that got the most clicks down here at 4 clicks. Eric Cole has been playing quietly some really good golf as well. I wanted to click on his name. 5th at Mexico, 39th at Valero, 27th at Players, 2nd at the Honda, 15th at AT&T. Guys played really good golf this year. Again, really good iron player, really good tee to green. Eric Cole at that price is a great play. And I got one more name way down here, and that's Ryan Gerard. This guy, 33rd at Mexico, 56th at Valero, 4th at the Honda, 11th at Puerto Rico. He's made 5 or 6 cuts this year. Getting a guy at 6,400 that's made 5 or 6 cuts. I know it's an elevated field, but this all goes to my new strategy with this elevated field. Pick my 4 core, which I did, and to refresh my core 4, Spieth, Homa, Hovland, Burns. Make sure 2 or 3 names get clicked every single lineup, one lineup with all 4. Make sure 2 or 3 of them are in every lineup, and then mix it up. So if you go Smith, what I'm going to do is if I can get DraftKings up here on my screen here. Hang on. Make sure they don't ask for no. They let me get right into it. So we're just going to pull up a random screen here, and we're going to share this DraftKings screen here. They pull this off, stop that share, present, share screen, DraftKings. Let's put this up here on the screen. So let's just pick it. So you take Spieth, Homa, Hovland. It gives you 7,200. And so then you go down to 69 with Aaron Rai. Bumps you up to 74. Then you play Basha. That's at 7K. That bumps you up to 7,900. And now you can play Wyndham Clark or Chris Kirk. And now you've got a lineup. And now you just do that. And then you just clear these 3 names out. Then you put those 3 guys in there again. And you put Eric Cole in. And then you put Bramlett in. And that leaves you with 8,100. And you can play Tommy Fleetwood. Then you leave those 3 guys in again. And you go Ryan Gerard. And then go Ben Griffin. I'm saying, these are just examples here. Ben Griffin. That leaves you 84. Now you can play Tagala. So this is basically what I'm looking at right now when I'm doing this, is finding a way to keep those 4 guys in every lineup I do. And then just balancing it out elsewhere. So anyway, to recap, the new strategy, core 4, this week. And I'm very confident in this core 4. Not only am I confident in saying this, I put them in 13 lineups each. Jordan Spieth, Max Homa, Victor Hovland, Sam Burns. I bet all 4 outright, along with Justin Thomas. And on top of that, I bet top 20 on all of them as well. So if any of those guys win, we're racking it in. And that's the thing. I'm getting all my equity in 4 guys that have winning upside, that have won events before, and especially in these elevated events when the elite of the elite are playing. That is when you want to stick to the top and then just get flexible down the bottom. You don't need to be betting Eric Cole to win. I saw people betting Badia to win, Justin Sue to win. No offense, Chase or Kyle. I saw some, Rogers outrights. I saw Wyndham Clark outrights this week. I saw a lot of these long shots getting bet this week. And when you got a field with Spieth, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay could easily win. I thought of using my plus 300 boost on Patrick Cantlay this week. He could easily win. But when you got Cam Young, who hasn't won yet, leading the way in outright bets on Golf Tip Check or whatever it's called on Twitter, you don't want to go much further down the board than that. Because you got guys like Young who haven't won, who are elite, and then you got the elite. The waste of money going into these long shots, especially in elevated events, it's crazy. It's too much. So it's the core 4 of Spieth, Homa, Hovland, Burns. A sprinkle of Justin Thomas, and then mix it up the rest of the way. That's my strategy. We'll be back here next week, possibly on Monday night. Swagman will be joining me. And if I do Monday night, I bet you Swagman hangs along and tags along a lot. Great guy, does great fantasy golf and football content. Check him out, Swagman, on Twitter. been on the show a few times. We're going to recap to see if my strategy worked next week. And we'll see how it goes. But anyway, we're wrapping this up. Quick show tonight. Quick short show. Got to get in the other room ready for Bryce Harper's return to the Phillies lineup and get set up. I know it's almost – Kyle, I'm rushing through it. I rushed to start the show because I was late getting out of work, and I'm rushing to finish up the show because all I care about is Bryce Harper's return. I got a few little things to do to get ready for tomorrow morning, get my graphics ready, and I got to get watching Bryce. And he's batting third in the first inning, so we're going to see him right away. Anyway, for Philadelphia Sports Network, I am Phil Stiefel. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Fairway to Heaven. Follow Fairway, the number 2 Heaven _ for all the golf content. Everybody have a great night. We're going to play some playoff. Let's go. See you next week. Fairway to Heaven.